Hi guys, Mr. Hill here. I'm back in my laboratory, so we can only be doing one thing, and that's science. We've been looking at sound and what makes sound and how we hear it. What we're going to look at today is how we can create sound insulation. So how loud a sound is measured in something called decibels. Listening to sounds of 90 decibels or more can damage your ears if you do it too often. So if you remember, we've got the hairs inside our cochlea, and what they do is they pick up the vibrations. If they're exposed to too much sound or loud sound over a long period of time, they actually snap off, they stop working properly, and it damages our hearing. So to give you an idea of the volume of some of the sounds you'll hear around your house, a whispered voice is about 30 decibels. The sound of the rain is about 50 decibels. A vacuum cleaner is about 70 decibels. You'll see these are all in a green color. They're a comfortable level of sound. They're not going to start causing us any damage. A blender or a smoke alarm, that starts to bring the volume up and it gets loud. A lawnmower, a concert, an ambulance siren. If you've been stood on the street while an ambulance or a police car's gone past, they're really loud. And if you stood next to one of those for a long period of time, it would damage your hearing. But they go past so quickly on the way to where they're going, they are not going to cause lasting damage. We also have gunshots, firecrackers, fireworks. I know some of the fireworks, the displays I went to, not last year before, 2019, they were so loud you could feel the sound waves, not just hear them. So you have to be really careful with your sound and your ears. So as the pinna, so that's the outside parts of our ears that you can see, collects the sound waves for you to hear, the bigger the ears, the better you can hear. So looking at some of these animals here, you can see they've all got really big ears. So they can listen out for lots of things and they can hear whether it's prey creeping around and they can have their dinner, or a predator creeping up on them. They've got the ears big enough to hear the tiniest of sounds. We can replicate this, and I know we've done this before. If you hold your hands around your ears, if you're trying to listen to something that's a little distance away, cup your hands around your ears. You'll make your pinna bigger and you'll collect more sound waves. You'll be able to hear them a little bit better. So you'll get some idea of how having really big ears can be helpful. For us, not so much, because we'd be forever catching them on things like door frames and sharp, spiky things, and we'd forever have sore ears. So ours have evolved to work the way we need them to. The same for these animals on the screen. But what if a sound is too loud? We know from our work with materials that a thermal insulator keeps heat inside. It stops the heat from passing through. A sound insulator stops or reduces the amount of sound that can pass through. So we can use sound insulators to protect our ears or to make our environment quieter. So what they do is they filter out some of the waves of the sound to make the volume less. So if we think about a recording studio, it uses sound insulation in its walls. It's inside the walls and it's also stuck onto the walls as well. I've had the pleasure of going into the band room at RAF Northolt and understanding quite how much insulation is in there. You could stand in there and clap and there is no echo. That's how well insulated the walls are. And the orchestra was practicing in there. I stood in there, I could hear the volume they were playing at. I shut the door and I went and stood outside and I couldn't hear anything. That's how well insulated the sound was. And this is important because you don't want to disturb your neighbours. They'll be forever coming round and complaining, and you'll get told you can't record music there. You also don't want the sound from the outside coming in. So when I went into the band room, I was really impressed by how dead the sound was in there. It was completely quiet. So you couldn't hear what was going on outside. And the same as if you were outside, you couldn't hear what was going on inside. So it was perfectly well insulated. So what we can do if we're working in an environment where there's lots of loud noises, whether it's an aeroplane on a processing plant or near a bin lorry, using tools, certainly the nail gun they're using in the top right-hand picture, they are really noisy. Working in a mechanics in a car garage as well can be really noisy. Some of the tools there make a lot of noise for a long period of time. So some jobs are naturally very noisy. We can't escape the fact that there's a lot of noise there when we're doing that job. We need to protect our ears. As I said, constant exposure to loud noise damages the hair follicles inside your ears, which means your ears can't hear sounds as well as they should be able to. We should, wherever possible, avoid regularly loud noises. And when we can't, we should try to insulate our ears from the noise. Now, this is the same when you're wearing your headphones, with your gaming or watching our lessons. Keep the volume down as low as you possibly can, because the louder it is, the more pressure you're putting on your ears, the more damage you're going to do. We're going to have a look, our investigation today. We're going to work out what works best as a sound insulator. So for this investigation, we're going to need a sound source. We're going to need something that can make a sound that we can hear. Now, whether you use a mobile phone, your iPad, your laptop, maybe even a portable Bluetooth speaker, anything that can make a continuous noise. So whether it's a piece of music or whether you find a really steady tone that you can play, and you can use that for your experiment. But make sure you don't change too many things when you do this. So play a noise or a ringtone. Don't play it too loud. We're not trying to get the whole street involved in our investigation. We're just doing it inside the house. So as I said, choose a quiet volume, but one that you can hear clearly when you're near the sound source. So whether it's your laptop, iPad, phone, Bluetooth speaker, whatever you're using to make the noise. Walk away from the sound until you can't hear it anymore, and then measure that distance. Now, whether you measure the number of steps you've walked away, or you actually measure it using a tape measure and you measure it in meters, that's fine. It's entirely up to you how you do it. But make sure you measure it the same way each time, then you have reliable results. Then find something you could use as a sound insulator. Could you wrap it in maybe a piece of paper, maybe a piece of tin foil, maybe some cling film, maybe a cushion, maybe a jumper? Find lots of different things to try. And if you can, put it inside a container or get a pan, turn it upside down and put it over the top. See what difference it makes as to how far away you can get and still hear the sound. So once you've wrapped it, put it in something, walk away until you can no longer hear the sound and measure the distance. Repeat this for lots of different materials if you can. And if you're feeling really experimental, try different combinations of materials. So you might try the jumper and the paper, or the jumper and the tin foil, or the paper and the tin foil, and see what you can find that works well as a sound insulator. And then once you've done that, record it in a table. So your first row will be not covered. That will be your control row. That will tell you how good your insulator is. So the closer you are to it and you can't hear the sound, the better a sound insulator you have found. So just to recap, find something that can make a consistent sound at the same volume for a period of time. Set it off. Walk away from it, leave it uncovered, walk away from it, measure that distance, and then try out different materials to see what works best as a sound insulator. And once you've done that, record it in the table. We're not looking for an investigation method, equipment, anything like that this time. We just want to see your results. Take care, enjoy your investigation. Please make sure you put your results up on Tapestry, and if you can get some photographs of you doing it as well, that would be fantastic. Take care, stay safe, and we'll see you all back in class soon.